Like Mr. Tyagi was saying, that we have more than 1 lakh CSCs all across the country. It is very simple, as a matter of fact, to provide election-related services through CSCs, because the basic necessities to provide these services are already available with us. Our database is online. It is password protected. We can provide you access to the database through a user ID, password, and even maybe a digital signature infrastructure. You can easily provide all of these services, including printing of card and providing cards to the people. We have, as Mr. Tyagi explained to you, already entered into an MOU with CSC IPB, and I really hope that these services will begin very, very quickly in not so far a future. There might be some issues somewhere. For example, Anurag has just left, so I would have preferred to say this in his presence, but we found a very peculiar thing in Madhya Pradesh very recently, because we have this MOU with CSC IPB, and we have written to all our chief electoral officers all across the country to start these services with CSC infrastructure as quickly as possible. Now, we have to deal with all political parties in a very transparent manner. And when the Chief Electoral Officer of Madhya Pradesh called a meeting of all political parties, the very interesting thing was that the Congress party representative objected to the use of CSC, saying that it's a government organization, and therefore they will work for the government and may not be therefore so impartial. Of course, I told the Chief Electoral Officer of Madhya Pradesh that CSC is a Government of India organization, and it is the Congress party which is ruling at the center. So how is it that the Congress party in Madhya Pradesh is raising such issues? But those kinds of issues may actually come, and therefore it is very important, I think, for you, particularly when when it's only a commercial service, then it's a different matter. But when it is a service which is available to a citizen as a matter of right and eligibility, then I think it is important for you to also make wide publicity of the fact that you are not really subordinate to the government in that sense. I don't want to really take too much of your time, but very quickly, I will be failing in my duty if I don't talk about the transparency, credibility applications which we use. We use some very, very interesting applications. For example, anybody who makes an application, whether online or offline, gets a unique number, and you can actually check the status of your application on the internet, on the Election Commission website. Similarly, we provide a service on SMS, like the railways, where you can actually SMS your PNR and you get a reply on whether your reservation is confirmed or not. You can actually SMS your elector photo ID card number, and then you will get a return SMS telling you exactly where your polling station is and what is the address, etc. We provide all claims and objections on the website of the Chief Electoral Officer with a complete drill down up to the original form. So it is a very important service which we provide to political parties, to civil society organizations, to all citizens, so that when a person makes a claim or an objection, it is available for all to see, and if somebody wants to make a further objection, he can very easily do so. On the poll day, we provide a very interesting service which is actually I think probably the ultimate, I would say, in transparency. In large number of polling stations which we consider sensitive, we actually put a laptop computer with a dongle and a webcam, and we do a live webcasting from the polling station on the internet on several sites like Ustream and other real-time video streaming sites, so that people sitting anywhere in the country can actually see what is happening at the polling station. And we have found that it actually works, because in several cases, we found that political parties, after looking at the webcast, actually made complaints to us, and we ordered repolls in certain cases. Similarly, we also found that, sometimes when there's a very long queue and there's jostling going on and somebody wants to, all of that actually stops, because people know that somebody is actually watching. On a lighter vein, we found in West Bengal that people actually came in their best Sunday dresses, because they knew that it's being webcast to the rest of the world. So, I can go on and on different kinds of services which are being provided. by the Election Commission on by the use of information technology, and I really hope that we will be able to enter into a very meaningful partnership with all of you, and our services will be provided with your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing the various Election Commission services which can be extended on the platform of CSCs, and how the Election Commission is ensuring that these services are extended in a fair, transparent manner, and there's more accountability towards it. And now I would like to invite Ms. Aruna Sundarajan, the Principal Secretary and the Chairman of the Kudumbushri Mission Government of Kerala. She's also been one of the founders of the Akshaya projects in Kerala, which actually resulted in making Malappuram one of the first illiterate district, and Kerala one of the first illiterate state of the country. Inviting her for her views.
Respected Secretary DIT, my colleague and CEO of the CSC SPV, Shri Dinesh Tyagi, dignitaries on the dais, and members of the CSC family, invitees. I would just like to share with you 3 very brief observations on this, commemoration day of the founding day of the CSC SPV. It's actually it's been a very memorable journey, because even though I've left the DIT some time back and the CSC family, I can still see a very large number of known faces here. Since there are a large number of speakers yet to speak, and particularly Secretary DIT has to speak, I will just therefore confine myself to 3 very brief observations. 1, to encapsulate the journey of the CSC so far. 2, the principal challenges that remain before us. And 3, to sketch what I think are some possibilities for the roadmap ahead, because I see from the structure of today's seminar that the objective is to get, at the end of the day, certain on the basis of the experiences here, some ideas for going forward. So first of all, it's been a very eventful journey, and we have seen that the entire CSC movement has really been able to gain significant traction, as was mentioned by Dr. Tyagi here. I remember the very initial days when the effort was to evangelize what the idea of the CSC was about, because at that time this was a very new channel. There was significant resistance from many of the key stakeholders, including many of the government departments. So I think the key achievement has been that we have been able to move from evangelizing towards institutionalizing this channel. Certainly, as was flagged here by many of the speakers, particularly Dr. Tyagi, there still remain substantive challenges, equitable spread and so on. But the point is that today the CSC channel is here to stay. And I can say this from experience, because after leaving the DIT and the Government of India 1.5 years back, one of the first things I did was to visit some of the CSC centers in Kerala, which by now are about 7, 8 years old. And I can see that, and from what they were sharing with me, certainly people now believe that they don't necessarily have to go to the same government departments, but that there is a channel. I'll give you one very small example to show this. And this was a lady who used to work with me. and she had applied for a housing site allotment. And when I asked her what was the progress of her application, she proudly took out the receipt, computerized receipt, and she said, "See, now I have this receipt from the CSC, and therefore I believe that my request has been recorded, and nobody can now erase it." This is a very, very small, modest example, but for that lady, it is certainly a transformational one. Because otherwise she might have gone to the taluk office and she might have applied 10 times, but there is no proof, there is no accountability at the end of the day. So that directly brings me on to the key challenges. I'm not going to look at the key challenges of the CSCs, but step back and look at the larger challenges that are there, that we face nationally. And two of the biggest challenges, one certainly the extraordinary corruption and rent seeking that we see. In fact, one of the popular magazines, the India Today, had done a recent survey where they said they had estimated that in urban India, the total volume of these kinds of rents that are paid are around 66,000 crores. Now, nobody knows what a similar figure might be for rural India. But the point is that it is still extremely difficult for the average citizen to get even the most basic service. The second big challenge is the deficit in services. And in fact, one of the books that is currently making waves in India is Amartya Sen's most recent book called An Uncertain Glory, where they're saying what is the huge disparity in services between the privileged India, we all belong to that section, and the average Indian. Now, for addressing both these challenges, certainly the CSC is evolving as one of the major alternatives, and that is why this journey is so significant, because when we say this is the volume of corruption, let's say, that gives us an indication of what are the vested interests. And that is why it is, I know that the journey for all of you has not been easy. Each of you has been facing your own challenges. Whether it is the service provider within government who's trying to change the system, or the new service delivery channel which is trying to make, which is trying to create a entry space for itself, or whether it is the other stakeholders who are trying to pump services through this channel. It's certainly a difficult one. However, the deficit in services, which primarily covers the entire gamut of day-to-day G2C services, which all of you are well versed with, the financial inclusion, education and health. Dr. Tyagi, in fact, specifically flagged all of these in his opening remarks. So, leading on from these challenges, I would like to speak about what might be a roadmap where we can possibly get greater impact. Certainly, Dr. Tyagi has already flagged all the important points, but I just want to say that while the CSCs have done a tremendous job of innovating locally, because I know that, whether it's the business model, whether it is the service delivery model, a lot of it has to be, had to be done by you at the local level. Even though the scheme was conceptualized nationally and rolled out nationally, I do see that a disproportionate amount of the effort had always to be done by the CSCs, the SCAs, and the local operator. Perhaps because the CSC SPV has also now taken a very has now acquired a significant degree of maturity and is now effectively acting as a coordinator for the entire CSC ecosystem. I think it will be possible in future to leverage the national character of the entire CSC scheme, which means that it should be possible to bring in much greater degree of standardization, particularly in these 4 or 5 areas, whether it is the identity, Aadhaar, or the election card, whether it is in financial inclusion, having the SCs and the VLEs play the role of BC, whether it is in delivering education or health. I think the evolution of national models will mean that there is much greater standardization, much greater specialization, and therefore we will be able to make much bigger impact in the days to come. So I just want to end with these words and hope that at the end of the day the workshop will be useful and you will be able to signal what are the changes or the direction in which government needs to align its efforts to whatever you are doing on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for extending your views and your suggestions, and especially the need for the standardization of creating the national CSC model. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on this occasion, we have the launch of the book, which is entitled Common Services Centers. This is Innovative Rural Enterprises in India, which has been prepared by CSC E-Governance Services India Limited. Would like to request the respected Secretary, Shri J. Satyendra ji, to kindly launch this book. This book, ladies and gentlemen, presents the work which has been done so far under the CSC scheme and also highlights the profiles of 50 enterprising VLEs. Thank you. And may I now request respected Secretary Shri J. Satyendra ji for his views and inaugural address.
Today I am not going to suggest any solutions, but I would like to play with some numbers, throw up some questions and then leave, because we have an impressive gathering of people who are dealing with this subject, and a number of sessions are lined up to find the solutions. We are aware of the kind of pioneering work that people like Aruna have done in the past, and the story of CSCs is more than 10-12 years old in this country, and it's fortunately gaining momentum today, and the CSC SPV is entering its 5th year. So I must compliment the CEO and the entire team of CSC SPV as well as the VLEs and SES who are part of this movement. Now let me just share one set of statistics here. You have it on F1. F1 on the screen, please. Readable there. But I did make a small analysis of the performance of CSCs in one district as a sample and see what's happening. How is it impacting? When you aggregate and analyze, as I mentioned, number of interesting things come forth. In this district there were 126 CSCs, and the total number of transactions in May, I could have taken June also, but I've just taken May, 64,743, which works out to average TPM per CSC of 514. This is a really a good district, considering that the national average is around 177 when heard last, but Dinesh may update me whether it has improved further. And the current year aspiration is that it should be 400 nationally. But in this particular district, and then interesting thing is, as against the average TPM 514, the TPM of the median is 496. That is exactly at the midway point. 50% of the CSCs are even they are also above the median. And see, this is where the heart pains. The top performance is doing 1979 TPM transactions per month, and the last bottom of the pyramid, I would say, is last 10 of them have scored zeros, so they are more or less dysfunctional. Others are single digits. One more interesting analysis is CSCs with more than 400 TPM, which is the current year's benchmark to be achieved by March 2014. 52% in the district have already achieved that. And another analytical point is top 20 CSCs. I am not saying top 20% as in 80-20 rule, but top 20 CSCs account for about roughly 36.5% of the transactions, while the bottom 20 CSCs 0.0004%, only 262 in a month. So I think this is not a standard distribution, while on the first quartile it is more encouraging than the 80-20 rule, I can definitely say, but the bottom half and last quartile are really totally hopeless, desperate, inactive, unenterprising. I don't know what are the other adjectives to be used there. We need to look at this. We need to do such analysis. Each SEA has to do such analysis and see that there is more equity in the whole thing. Equity, I am not telling about equity amongst the VLEs. I am talking of the equity among the people being served by those CSCs. Obviously, when a CSC is inactive for whatever reason, he is not only ruining his own career and his own monthly income, but he is ruining the lives of the people attached to that VLE, the villages which are attached. That is the social responsibility cast on the VLEs. A VLE being inefficient, drawing a 0 or near 0 TPM is not only a shame on him, but it is a national injustice that person is doing. That is the way I would put it at this stage, because it has been there for several years, this scheme, and when the top man can achieve those numbers, at least 1/3, 1/4, 1/5 of that number, why can't everybody achieve? This is a kind of a challenge I am just again posing. It's a provocative issue, provocative question for the SES, for the VLEs. And I would only say one thing, show one thing before leaving. We need to monitor the transactions in a more active manner, which we have tried to do nationally recently. And I always believe that what you can measure, you can manage. That principle each SCA, each VLE should be able to practice. We have just started this exercise. It's called ETHAL. So you will see, this is at the national level. It is the counter which is live, real time, Kashmir to Kanyakumari to Kerala, a birth certificate given or a death certificate given or a property tax paid or a land record drawn. That means the number of services completed are showing up in a real time here. You will see both for the month of July. From the 1st of this month we are on 15th. So 30 lakhs, about 20 lakhs or so per day possibly is the going rate. And it has a number of, this is open to public, anyone can see ethal.gov.in. While it is a significant milestone, what it points out is a number of things. It kind of continuously on a minute-to-minute basis tells us, reminds us that there is many miles to go. Let me tell you that my own assessment is that as a part of e-governance in this country of 120 crore people, we should at least achieve 1 crore transactions per day. That means we should touch 1 crore citizens every day. That is, I think, insignificant. 1% of the population of this country. There is no mathematics behind it. There is no analysis behind it. One can definitely make an analysis, and I would request CSC to attempt a more accurate figure of how many citizens should be ideally touching every day for their requirements. Similarly, DAITY can do this analysis also. But assuming that 1 crore a day is a figure, at least 50% of that should be done by the CSCs in the rural areas. It comes to 15 crores per month. 1 crore a day is 30 crores a month, which is 15 crores on the CSCs. And currently, where are we? At the rate of, we are not even 3 crores, under 2 crores through the CSCs in a month. So from 2 crores to 15 crores is the jump. From 177 to 400 to 1200 transactions per month on the average is the goal that we need to achieve. Then we are doing something. We are making an impact. We are making a dent. Otherwise, people would have by now, if I reached this figure, as Aruna said, this should have been recognized as a nationally very important, player. Why has it not happened? Because we are low on the transaction rate, 177, as against even 1200, which could just make a dent. Is the point I would like to make here. I'll take a minute to just drill down on this. Once we have this facility at the national level, all the projects, all the portals that provide services are gradually, not all are connected yet, only 400 services are connected here. So central government, state government, local government, whoever is providing an online service is required to shake hands with this portal through a web service which take an hour or two to write. So this is the dashboard will give you state-wise, and it is a bit slow here, so it's taking a bit of time in this hall. But see, all the central government projects, you can see who is contributing how much. We have information relating to UID, elections, and all those transactions that happen here are available. Similarly, state government projects also, which state is contributing how much to this? Not exclusively through CSCs, any medium. CSC could and should play a great role, a great lion's share of those numbers should come, that rolling should happen through CSCs. You have here, you can just see the, who is leading today, as on today, across the country, which state. So you see Gujarat with 8 crores, far surpassing Andhra Pradesh, 5 crores, Haryana 2 crores, etc. This is from 1/1/2003, cumulative figure. So you can drill down and see what kind of services are being given, where they are being given, etc. At what frequency. You can do this kind of analysis once the database is there, and you can see the certificates, how many certificates are being given, licenses, permits, land records. So the kind of service portfolio is also visible for the whole world to see. And within certificates, again, you can possibly drill down and see what kind of certificates are being given. So my point here is that on this, here is a system. We can no longer say that we don't know how many services are being given, what kind of. One has to integrate with this. And other day I was in UP. Jayesh was in Delhi on that day, he couldn't be there. But when I showed this, where actually the UP is shown as number 10, do you know the response of the entire IT team there? Sir, give us 3 months, or don't give us any time. We are assuring you that within 3 months UP will be in the top 3 in the country, as far as, and then eventually be number 1 on that chart. Right now Gujarat is occupying that. So that is a kind of healthy competition that should come, and that's what I just want to. The sum and substance of this portal is not only to make it visible to the public, by what impact am I creating at the end of the day, and what can I do, whether I am a VLE, whether I am a citizen, whether I am a program manager or an IT company, what should I do so that I can make that counter run faster than it is currently running it. So that is our goal. So this is a challenge for all of us, and I appeal that this workshop may discuss ways and means of enhancing this. The pace of the, I think the counter is a little refresh, probably the connection is not there. So when it refreshes, you will see longer.
Thank you, sir. So, as the success of the CSC scheme actually rests on the assessment and analyzing the work which has been done, and further how to further strengthen it and improve it. So, thanking respected Secretary. And may I now request.
You can see on your own cell phone, it goes very fast. Unfortunately, in the corner, the signal was not there. You can all check out Keep looking at it and see what can I do to make it roll faster. That's my message.
And now I would like to request Dr. A.K. Sharma, the Managing Director of NILET. As you know, NILET is the HRD arm of DATI. He's one person who has been leading and guiding NILET, and NILET, as you know, again has been extending various courses, skill development and other ICT courses, and taking the skills and knowledge to the doorstep of the people. Inviting Dr. A.K. Sharma. So thanking once again Shri J. Satyanarayana on behalf of everyone present here. Thank you, sir.
So at the end of the day, please give me a roadmap. How do you reach that 100? Okay.
Distinguished members on the dais and ladies and gentlemen. See, when we were discussing about CSCs, I was just trying to recapitulate what I have done for the CSCs in Rajasthan, because I come from Rajasthan. I was working as a managing director of Rajcom, an organization working on behalf of government of Rajasthan for e-governance and IT projects. And I do remember when I took the charge of MD Rajcom in 2009, there was a challenge, and rather there was a criticism at the level of DIT, Government of India, saying that nothing is happening in the state of Rajasthan, and especially the NEGP projects, they are being pending for last 1.5 years. So when I took the charge, I came along with my Principal Secretary, Srimad Pandey, over here, and we had a meeting with Shri Chandrasekhar sir, who was the secretary that time, and he said that if you want to roll out the project of NEGP, you try to roll out first the CSC project. And then I went to the department, I had a discussion with the members and the team members over there, and I could know that we had first time a bidding, there was a negative bidding for the CSCs. The CA like Reliance, Tata and others, they participated, and there was a negative bidding. Rather, they were ready to pay money to capture and grab the CSCs. But finally, that could not conclude out. So second time, we have to again for the bidding process, and that time we got a positive bidding, but the price was basically again limited to 200 rupees, 300 rupees. And if you go through the RFP terms and condition, the penalty was 200 rupees per day in case the CSC does not come on the, on the working ground. So then we could find that what is the issue basically, how to take forward the CSCs. Then we had a meeting, and that's the reason which Mr. Tyagi said that we brought out a decision in the cabinet saying that CSCs has to be a gateway for any service to the rural area. And that's the way we were thinking, that that's the way that transforming rural India, we must say it is empowering the rural India. That's the way CSC has to work. Now, secondly is that when we are talking about the CSCs, we are saying it's a common service center, but I will say rather it is a citizen service center, because it is providing services to the citizen. And that is one of the reason the mandate is that basically in case you want to ensure that the services are being delivered at the doorstep of the citizen, we have to ensure that all services, whether it is G2C, G2B or G2G, they have to be routed through the common service center. Otherwise, it's very difficult, because until unless this common service centers become financially viable, they won't be taking keen pain or keen interest to make the services delivered to the citizens. And that is what we could analyze when we started basically delivery of services like electricity bill, telephone bill, tickets of the roadway buses. We could find there were some services, there was some revenue to the CSCs, but it was not capturing more revenue to them, and they were not becoming financially viable. And then there was a penalty clause and all these things. So few of the CSCs were not keen to go further in that. Then subsequently what we did is, basically we started saying that why not to start online form filling for the Public Service Commission of the state. And suddenly we could find those CSCs basically for whom we were running, after whom we were running to open up their center, they were after us basically after this new channel or new activity was opened up. Because what was happening, the government made that there will be almost 3 lakh services, employment will be generated for 3 lakh youth, and subsequently the number of applications which were likely to be received was around 35 lakhs for different cadres. And basically we fixed up a revenue model saying that per application there will be a 35 rupees which was legally officially allowed to the service centers. Now basically that give a moral boost and a financial boost to the CSCs, and finally we could find that in few of the cases the service centers, they were earning a revenue of 1 lakh rupees also. That was the figure which I could see when I left the Rajasthan. Now this experience basically which I could feel over there made me to feel that why not to start the same activity over here in NILAT as an MD, as a CEO. So what I did is basically the examination activities, because NILAT is an organization which is an HRD arm of the DIT, where we are basically going for the capacity building in the field of IT, electronics, e-governance and other sectors which are associated with the Department of IT, where we are trying to bring the formal and non-formal courses either through tie-up of universities or through our own courses which are recognized and accredited by the AICTE. Now I could find that in case the same process which I have done in Rajasthan can be done over here, it can give a revenue to the CSCs, and not only this, even it will make our presence in the rural area. So what I did is basically the day I joined over here, I think within a span of 1.5 months, I met Mr. Tyagi, and I am thankful to Mr. Tyagi also and the Honorable Minister, Mr. Sachin Pilot Saab, who agreed in principle that there should be an MOU between the CSC and NILAT, empowering NILAT by strengthening their presence in the village area, and similarly empowering CSC by making NILAT center, which are almost 3,000 in numbers, to become and work as a CSC, which means they will be allowed to deliver the services to the citizen. And that's the way we signed an MOU with them. And subsequently what I did is I spoke to Mr. Tyagi and I said that if you want to avail the services, if you want the growth of the CSCs, why don't you, I have got a project with me, but I don't have funding with me, so you fund it out and let's make our all activities online, which means registration of the students, online examination form filling, online conduction of the exams, and subsequently disbursement of information to the students online. Then finally we took a decision and finally we developed that application. Now we made it mandate that all applications will be routed either through internet system or through CSCs, and that could this time could not fetch a good revenue to CSCs, but definitely I'm sure this will start giving more revenue to them because we are starting more services through the kiosk only. Now what is happening is CSCs can play again a major role in the NEGP projects, because as we see now NEGP project e-district is coming up. Now in the e-district basically you require the support at the rural area, at the district level, at the grassroots level, and I'm sure there also the e-district can play a major, CSCs can play a major role by providing services to them. Similarly, what is happening is we are basically going for a e-literacy program on behalf of the Government of India. We are trying that we will empower the women by giving free training to 25,000 women throughout the country. Now what we have done is basically we have decided that we will go through 1,000 CSCs, and these 1,000 CSCs basically will train each CSC which is having a good infrastructure will train 25 women and will conduct the online exam for them, will accredit them. Subsequently they will multiply in a binary mode, multiplying one CSC or one woman entrepreneur, women coming out from the course will multiply further 5 more. So this is what basically the way we will be able to meet the digital literacy project of the Government of India, where we are planning that one person within family should be illiterate. Similarly, what we have done is we are trying to do that 1 lakh youth which is to be trained, which is to be made a digital literate. We are trying, we will partner with the CSC, which we have done already. Already project has been funded by DIT. We are thankful to the DIT for the same, where the training will take part through the CSCs at the remote village area or the rural area, and subsequently the third party assessment will be done online by the NILIT. So again, what I am trying to say is basically we are trying to empower CSCs, saying that they need to become financially, economically more viable, so that they start taking more activities, they start contributing to the digital literacy of the country. Now on the same pattern, what we are trying, that in case we are able to do, because if we see capacity building is one of the important pillar, one of the major pillar of the e-governance projects. So this way, in case we are able to basically contribute to the capacity building of the citizens, to the employees at the district level, then basically we can contribute to the e-governance mission and the vision of the government. And that's the way I think we can go for a smart governance, which is basically simpler, modular, adaptive, transparent and responsive. That's the way we can say for that. Now not only this, even we are trying to tie up with the Department of Child and Women, where we are trying that we will use CSCs for training of the Anganwadis, because that's the again new project which is coming up, where we feel that the staff and the team at the Anganwadi need to be trained, they need to be made illiterate, and we are trying that we will use the CSC vehicle again for training of this. With these words, thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as said, that transforming rural India is basically aimed at empowering rural India, and this is where NILIT is working along with the CSCs through the platform of CSCs, extending these various services. One of the major work in the project which they are going to be taking towards empowerment of the child and women, working with the Anganwadis. And now how the Aadhaar enrollment and then the Aadhaar printing, the demographic data update, we have the biometric data update, all these services can be carried on at the CSC platform. Even the other services like the ration cards, the scholarships, which are an integral part of the UIDI, can be provided on the CSC network. So more on how the UIDAI is working with the CSC scheme and extending these various services. Would like to invite now Ms. Sujata Chaturvedi, the Deputy Director General of UIDI, for her thoughts on this occasion.
Respected Principal Secretary Ma'am, Tyagi Sahab, people on the dais, बैठे हुए सभी अतिथिगण, आपकी अनुमति से मैं हिंदी में बोलना चाहूंगी, बिकॉज मुझे ज्यादा अच्छा लगेगा हिंदी में बोलना. अभी तक आपने काफी सारी बातें सुनी, अलग अलग तरीके के इनिशिएटिव्स के बारे में सुना, तो आधार का भी जिक्र हुआ। मैं आपका बहुत ज्यादा समय नहीं लेना चाहूंगी, वैसे ही काफी लंबा हो गया ये सेशन। मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि आज इस फाउंडेशन डे पे आपने मुझे बुलाया। मैं आधार की प्रतिनिधि के तौर पे यहाँ आई हुई हूँ, और आधार के बारे में अगर बताना हुआ तो अभी अभी मैंने अपने फोन पर आंकड़े लिए आज सुबह के, तो खुशी होती है बताने में कि आज की डेट में हम 50 करोड़ लोगों तक नामांकन पर पहुंच गए हैं। 50 करोड़, लगभग 50 करोड़, और लगभग 40 करोड़ तक पहुंच जाएंगे हमारे आधार। आपको आइडिया होगा कि पहले एनरोलमेंट होता है, उसके बाद कुछ दिनों बाद आधार बनता है। तो इतनी बड़ी संख्या में इतने सारी जनता का पंजीकरण और आधार संख्या बनाना, ये दुनिया में हमारे लिए, देश के लिए गौरव की बात है। हम लोग अभी रिसेंटली अमेरिका में एक बायोमेट्रिक कॉन्फ्रेंस में गए थे, और जब हम बताते हैं लोगों को इस तरह के आंकड़े, तो लोग लिटरली भौचक्के के रह जाते हैं। किसी ने इस तरह के प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में जब भी सुना तो उनको लगा कि ये कैसे हो सकता है कि आप लोग इतने सारे लोगों का आधार बनवा रहे हैं, इतनी जल्दी आपने ये सब काम कर लिया। और कई बार ऐसा लगता है कि हमारे ही सिस्टम में इसका शायद उतना अप्रिसिएशन नहीं है कि कितना बड़ा ये काम चल रहा है। यहाँ पर जो ऑडियंस मौजूद है उसमें हमारे फील्ड वर्कर्स, हमारे साथ जो लोग फील्ड में काम करते हैं वो भी हैं, इसलिए मुझे पता है कि यहाँ जानते हैं लोग कि कितना मुश्किल और कितना बड़ा काम ये चल रहा है। आधार अभी 60 करोड़ लोगों को इस दौर में 2014 तक पंजीकृत करके आधार दिलवाने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। ये हमारा लक्ष्य है। मिशन टारगेट इज 60 करोड़, और अब आज अगर हम 50 पे है तो आप मान सकते हैं और समझ सकते हैं कि ये तो बहुत इजीली हम लोग अचीव कर लेंगे। और इसके लिए हजारों लोग, हजारों तरह की संस्थाएं हमारे साथ जुड़ी हुई हैं, उसमें से एक आपका भी CSC भी है। और जब आप दोनों कार्यक्रमों का रूप देखते हैं तो ये सिनर्जी जो है अत्यंत स्वाभाविक लगती है। आधार एक प्लेटफॉर्म है, आधार ऐसी चीज है जो इस देश के सभी निवासियों को अपनी एक पहचान दिलवाता है, और ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक पहचान है जिसको वो कहीं से भी यूज कर सकते हैं। इसके साथ अगर आप CSC का रूप देखें, CSC भी इसी तरह की एक सेवा है जो कि गांव-गांव में जाकर देश के लोगों को विभिन्न सेवाओं का लाभ उठाने के लिए एक प्लेटफॉर्म की ही तरह एक छोटी एक फैसिलिटी प्रदान कर रहा है। और अगर इन दोनों में मेल हो जाए तो लोगों को कितना फायदा होगा ये हम सभी समझ सकते हैं। और ये बहुत खुशी की बात है कि जब हमारा आधार का पंजीकरण अब पीक हो रहा है, जहां लोग 80 से 90% लोग पंजीकृत हो चुके हैं, वहां जो बचे कुचे लोग हैं या उस समय जो लोग नहीं पंजीकरण करा पाए या जो नई आबादी उसमें जुड़ रही है, ऐसे लोगों के लिए जब परमानेंट एनरोलमेंट सेंटर्स बनाने की बात हुई, स्थायी पंजीकरण केंद्र, तो CSC जैसी संस्था इसके लिए सबसे उत्तम मानी जा सकती है। और यही हुआ है, और बहुत खुशी की बात है कि हाल के ही दिनों में लगभग 700 केंद्र ऐसे बन गए हैं जहां पे आप कभी भी जाकर अपना आधार का पंजीकरण करा सकते हैं। ये केंद्र कभी बंद नहीं होते हैं। आपकी जानकारी के लिए मैंने कल या परसों के ही अखबारों में दिल्ली में जो केंद्र चल रहे हैं उनकी पूरी सूची छाप दी है, और उससे ये होता है कि लोगों को जो प्रॉब्लम होती है कि हम कहाँ जाए, तो इस तरह की सूचना उनको उपलब्ध करा दी गई है। उनमें इन्हीं सब केंद्रों के नाम हमने डाल दिए हैं, और हम ऐसी सूचना बराबर देते रहते हैं। इन केंद्रों पे आप जाकर अपना पंजीकरण करा सकते हैं। आप अगर आपके आधार डेटाबेस में कोई करेक्शन कराना चाहते हैं तो वो भी हो सकता है। फिर आधार जो एक चिट्ठी बनती है आजकल, क्योंकि डाक विभाग द्वारा जो आधार चिट्ठी आती है जिसको पॉपुलरली आधार कार्ड कहा जाता है, उसमें कई कठिनाइयां आई हैं, और हमें कई बार ऐसी शिकायत मिली है कि ये चिट्ठियां पोस्ट द्वारा उचित तरीके से पहुंचाई नहीं गई हैं। ऑडियंस में भी अगर मंच खुला कर दिया जाए तो मुझे बहुत सारे लोग बताएंगे कि मैंने कराया पर मेरा आया नहीं। तो ऐसे सब लोगों को मैं बताना चाहूंगी कि आधार की सुविधा है। आधार एक्चुअली रेसिडेंट्स के लिए सुविधा है। रेसिडेंट अपने आप पोर्टल पे जाके अपना आधार प्रिंट कर सकते हैं, और आधार को आधार के पत्र या आधार कार्ड की ही मान्यता मिली हुई है। इसलिए कुल मिलाकर अभी कोई कठिनाई नहीं रह गई है। और ऐसे लोग जो अपने आप कंप्यूटर पे नहीं जा सकते हैं, जिनके पास कंप्यूटर की सुविधा भी नहीं है, उन लोगों के लिए ये जो हमारे CSC के केंद्र हैं, यहां पर जाकर आप आधार ले सकते हैं। उसकी कीमत 10 रुपए रखी गई है। हमको ये सूचना मिली है कि साइबर कैफे और बाकी के जो प्राइवेट आउटफिट्स है वहां पे भी लोग आधार प्रिंट करते हैं, परंतु अगर आप CSC वाले पे जाएंगे तो वो 10 रुपए में आपको मिलेगा। इस तरह की यहाँ पे सुविधा दी गई है। कुल मिलाकर ये बहुत ही अच्छी चीज है और इसका धीरे धीरे जो प्रचार प्रसार बढ़ रहा है उससे लोगों में आधार की जानकारी और आधार से लेकर समस्याओं का भी निवारण होता हुआ हमें दिखाई दे रहा है। आने वाले दिनों में आधार से बैंक अकाउंट जुड़ के पैसे लोगों को मिलने लगेंगे। लोग एक माइक्रो एटीएम हमने मशीन बनाई है, आप में से कुछ लोगों ने देखी होगी, जिससे गांव-गांव में जाके हम ट्रांजैक्शंस बैंकों के साथ कर सकते हैं। झारखंड में और अन्य जगहों पे इसके पायलट्स हुए हैं जो बहुत सक्सेसफुल हुए हैं। तो ऐसे माइक्रो एटीएम्स दिलवाने की भी योजना है बैंकों के थ्रू बिजनेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट्स को। उसके लिए भी इस तरह का सीएससी का रोल बहुत अहम रहेगा। और लोगों को एक गांव में जिन लोगों को इलेक्ट्रॉनिक आईडी मिल चुकी है, ऐसे लोग बैंक खाता खोल सकते हैं और सरकार द्वारा या अन्य कोई एजेंसी द्वारा जो सुविधा उनको दी गई है उसका पूरा लाभ वहां उठा सकते हैं। इस तरह का चित्र हमारे सामने आता जा रहा है और सही मायने में ये लोगों का इंक्लूजन जिसको हम कहते हैं और एम्पावरमेंट जिसको हम कहते हैं, सशक्तिकरण, यही उचित इसकी दिशा होगी। और मुझे लगता है कि आधार को जरूरत है ऐसे पार्टनर की और सीएससी के लिए ऐसे पार्टनर की जरूरत है जो इस तरह का लार्ज स्केल विशालकाय प्रोग्राम हो जिसमें उनका रोल हमेशा बना रहेगा। ये आधार का जो काम है और आधार की जो परिकल्पना है ये कभी खत्म नहीं होगी। आज हम डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट ट्रांसफर देखते हैं, कल कोई नई चीज आ जाएगी। अनेक स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स ने अपनी अपनी योजनाएं शुरू कर दी है। आपने सुना होगा अन्नश्री के बारे में। दिल्ली सरकार ने एक अन्नश्री योजना शुरू की है पिछले 6 महीने से और इसमें महिलाओं को 600 रुपए प्रति माह के दर से अन्य खाद्यान्न के लिए राशि दी जाती है। तो ये वाली योजना पूर्णतः आधार पे आधारित है और मुझे खुशी है बताते हुए कि लगभग 1 लाख तक हम अब महिलाओं तक पहुंच रहे हैं इस योजना में, जिनको आधार से उनके खाते में भुगतान मिल रहा है। तो ऐसी महिलाओं को जब भुगतान मिल जाएगा खाते में तो उनको उसको निकालने के लिए या बैंक के ट्रांजैक्शंस करने की भी सुविधा चाहिए होगी, क्योंकि जैसे जैसे लोग बैंकों से जुड़ेंगे वैसे वैसे उनको बैंकिंग की सुविधा चाहिए होगी और बैंकिंग हर जगह पहुंचना मुश्किल है। इसलिए माइक्रो एटीएम जो हमने डिवाइस बनाया है और उसकी जो टेक्नोलॉजी है वो बहुत ज्यादा यूजफुल होगी ऐसी जगहों पे जाने में जहां बैंक्स नहीं स्थापित हो सकते हैं। तो कुल मिलाकर भविष्य बहुत उज्जवल है और बहुत सारी योजनाएं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स ला रही हैं और रोज नए लोग हमारे साथ जुड़ते जा रहे हैं। एक बहुत बड़ा प्रयास है देश में लोगों को विकास की ओर ले जाने का और इसके लिए आपका योगदान भी इसमें बहुत अहम है। मैं आप सबको पुनः एक बार बधाई देती हूं और धन्यवाद करती हूं कि आपने मुझे यहां बुलाया। थैंक यू।
धन्यवाद मैम, हमें आधार के बारे में बताने का और आधार कैसे सीएससीज के साथ मिलकर इस माध्यम के द्वारा सशक्तिकरण कर रहा है। धन्यवाद। And now, ladies and gentlemen, if we talk about once again our population, 1.2 billion, which is going to be reaching to close to 1.5 billion by 2030, 2050. So huge demographic dividend we definitely have, but when we talk about skills at hand, that is less. And as India is moving more from the agrarian society to more of a manufacturing and a service-based society, if we are able to extend the skills to the rural population, they can definitely a part of this growing economy and contribute to it. So I would like to now invite Mr. Dilip Chenoy, who is the promoter of developing employment skills in rural India through the CSCs, inviting him for his views.
Thank you, Srimati Aruna Sundarajan, Principal Secretary and Chairperson, Kudumbashri, Dr. Dinesh Tyagi, CEO, Mr. A.K. Sharma, Sujata Chaturvedi, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you for inviting me here to be part of the 4th CSC Diwas, and congratulations on the journey this far. I know we are running half an hour late, so I'll just try and finish a brief set of comments in about 3 to 4 minutes. So I'm going to skip all the introductions and everything and go straight to the point. I think, a few weeks ago we happened to meet Dr. Tyagi and me, and one of the things that we didn't know that both of our organizations were working in synergy and together. Just to give you an example, if you see 3 of the logos on that panel next to the screen, they are also NSDC partners. So the NSDC is mandated to help entrepreneurs, and there are 30 village level entrepreneurs here to skill 15 crore, 150 million people by 2022. The targets are small in comparison to UIDI or the organizations that you heard. But I believe there is a lot of synergy between the work being done under the CSC program, NSDC, and, for example, even UIDAI, because we do have an MOU with the Unique ID Authority of India. Now, what could be done? I think the CSCs are very unique in the manner that they're closest to the local population. So you do have an idea of what the local people want and need. And when you're looking at skill development, a lot of skill development centers which are being set up either near you or in the villages that you are, do not have access to this information. So the CSC centers could become a mobilization center for actually directing children and the youth to go to the nearest skill development center and find out what skills they could learn. You could also become a counseling center. Now, for these services, for mobilization and for counseling, many of the NSDC training partners, we have approved 83 till date, we will be looking at another 60 this year, would be happy to pay you for your services. So you can actually leverage that going forward. If you are more ambitious, and you heard about the e-learning services being delivered through the CSCs from Dr. Sharma, and you want to expand it to other areas other than e-learning, and you want to expand your CSC and make it a skill development center, you can have two routes. You can work with the state governments. Many state governments have schemes where they pay you to skill and place a person. Or you could actually approach NSDC, and that's what 3 of the partners on that board did, to take a loan to actually fund skill development programs going forward. So these are 2 specific areas. The third area that we are working with the CSC here is to develop specialized content which could help you train people in areas other than IT. Can we do e-plumbing, e-carpentry, e-cooking, right? How can we deliver these services using the CSC framework and enable that to happen? The fourth area which I want to talk about, and a lot of the CSCs are being empowered as banking correspondents, and you heard Anurag Jain earlier. The Indian Banks Association has, and many non-banking financial institutions have devised a product which is known as a vocational loan product from 5,000 rupees to 4 lakhs. But they don't have a delivery mechanism. So if you actually tie up with training partners, and in the working groups you can either talk to Sri Sahaj or ISECT, be able part of basics that are here, to see how you can actually enable the loans from the banking system to reach the people who are wanting to actually avail of them. And the other point which I'd like to leave here, I'll end with that point, is that there's an attempt, one of the biggest challenges in rural India is that skilled people don't have a value for the skills because they lack a certificate. Many state governments are going in for what is known as recognition of prior learning. And other, under the National Skills Policy 2009, we are setting up sector skill councils that will issue certifications. So what we are trying to do in the NSDC is create a national skills registry, which will link the UID number, the CSC center, all the training providers, including the NSDC training providers, under the sector skill councils, and you will have a certificate. So imagine a construction worker in a remote village today has actually learned skills under NREGA. Then he joins a construction project, but when he goes to another construction site, he only is eligible for minimum wages because he doesn't have a certificate. Tomorrow, the same person can get certified and assessed either using the e-assessment or e-testing system that Dr. Sharma is developing, or through the sector skill councils. And when he goes to the new site, right, whether it's even building a telecom tower, for example, and I see the person from that industry here in the audience, then you will actually pay him for a certification. So this whole national skills registry and the ability to empower the rural people through a certification is another area of cooperation that we will be going forward. So these 5 areas I wanted to share with you. I believe there's great synergy. You know, if we have to transform the skills landscape in India, we need speed, we need synergy, we need scale, and we need sustainability. And I think entrepreneurs in this room can enable this to happen going forward and really transform the lives of millions of people in rural India and India. So thank you very much for this opportunity and wish you very best in all your deliberations in the day.
Thank you, sir, for sharing with us the work of NSDC, tying up with the CSCs, extending the skill development programs, and also now going for the registration and certifying the people so that they feel more empowered and more confident towards it. So CSCs can actually be the harbingers of change for this country, the change which we are actually looking for and talking about. So as we express thanks to all the speakers, inaugural speakers who are right now present with us, we would like to thank them by presenting them the memento. Would like to request the COO of CSC SPV, Shri Bhagwan Patil, to kindly present the mementos. Most of the speakers had to leave because of the pressing engagement, but thanking Dr. A.K. Sharma, thanking Mr. Dilip Chenoy, thanking Ms. Aruna Sundarajan, and thanking also Dr. Dinesh Tyagi. So as we conclude this inaugural session, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to request Shri Umang Das, the chairman of the CSC Forum, to kindly propose a formal vote of thanks.
You friends in the audience and the distinguished members the panel, Mrs. Aruna Sundarajan, Dr. Dinesh Tyagi, Mr. Dilip Shenoy, and Dr. Sharma. It's my pleasant duty on behalf of the CSC Forum to propose a formal vote of thanks and particularly congratulate the Ministry of Information Technology for having organized for this 4th CSC Diwas, and particularly the CSC SPV led by Dr. Dinesh Tyagi, who has so impactfully organized for this